Hello and welcome back to the Majority Podcast with me, Jacob Hobbs. I actually remembered to say my name this time, which I feel like is a step in the right direction if you would like to build a successful podcast. So I'm glad I've remembered to do that. Thanks for coming back. If you listened to the last one, honestly, I was actually blown away by how many people did listen and how many people were interested. So thank you so much for listening. And if you're brand new, this podcast is literally just about trying to improve your relationship with your health and fitness, whether that's mentally or whether that's physically. We're going to be sharing some little tips. I'm going to be sharing some stories. Last week I shared about my personal story with health and fitness, and it was actually very strange. It was really weird going back over that all and sort of, I don't know, remembering how I felt when I was a teenager and the difference to how I feel now. But I wanted to start a little bit this week with telling a story about what happened to me this week. It was on Monday. It's now Wednesday as I record this. And to be honest, my soul is still recovering from how embarrassed I was. If you're anything like me, you'll do certain things and in the moment you think to yourself, this is horrible, but then you forget, and then maybe you get in the car and like you're on your own for the first time in a little while, and this wave of embarrassment just hits you all over again, and you're like, no, like this is one of those moments. This is exactly one of those moments. So if you're brand new to the gym and you feel uncomfortable in the gym, I'd love to tell you that that's gonna go away one day, and it will get loads better, but it's a weird environment. It's like an intimate environment, the gym. Because if you're there, you're admitting that you want to improve something. And whilst you're there, you are actively trying and suffering. It's public suffering, which I'm not sure any gym is going to put on their New Year's advertising. Because sorry about that. That was my laptop chirping at me. I don't think they're going to put that on their New Year's advertising, but it is true. So you're already a little bit vulnerable anyway, right? I was training shoulders and I was tired. So I took a seat on the lat pull down machine that was next to me, right? I was hot, I was sweaty, I was exhausted. I had my headphones in. I was just looking down at my phone. It's kind of like in my own little world. I was tired. I was suffering in that moment. And I just felt like a little tap on my shoulder. And I looked up and the PT was stood there with his client. And he just said, "Oh, excuse me, mate, are you using that machine?" And I said, "Oh, no, sorry. I was in my own little world. I'm knackered." And we sort of had like a little laugh together. Very normal, right? And I stood up to get out of the seat. This is so gross. So don't judge me, all right? We're doing this journey together. Don't judge me. But I stood up and in HD detail was the outline of my arse crack in sweat on the seat, on the lever. It was like, I would describe it as violently obvious. That's how obvious it was. And I thought to myself, oh my days, there's no escaping this. I have to point it out, because I looked at their faces and I saw both their faces change, like, oh my days, this is embarrassing for everyone. So I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry about that. So I picked up the spray and I just sprayed it down and wiped it. I was like, you don't want that. I don't want that. This is embarrassing for us all. Let me sort that out for you. And they were laughing and I was laughing. And I was embarrassed, but I was like, do you know what? I'm at the gym. Like, if I was just sat like in a meeting, I'd be embarrassed. But I'm at the gym. I was embarrassed, but not like overly. And I thought I styled it off pretty well. But they looked at me and they were sort of like, the PT was just like, oh, it's all right, mate. It just means you're working hard. That's what he said. And I thought, oh, legend. Right? And then as I was looking at them, I was like smiling and sort of like interacting a little bit. I had my headphone in one hand because I'd taken it out in order to talk to them. I had the paper towel in the other hand to throw in the bin. And just in front of them, whilst looking at them, like I'm keeping eye contact, I just threw my AirPod in the bin instead of the paper towel. And I was like, oh. And I just heard it go like clunk as it like hit the bottom of the bin inside all the tissues and everything. And I was like, oh, no. It was just, there was no taking it back. It had happened. And they were just looking at me. And then we were just stood there looking at each other. And I was like, okay, I can pretend that didn't happen and walk away, or I can now root through the bin in front of them after recovering from a sweaty arse crack incident. And you know what? The gym playlist was sucking that day. I did what a man has to do. I bent down, I put my hand inside that bin, and I delved through the many layers of sweaty paper towel to find my AirPod at the bottom. And I took it out. I maintained eye contact with the PT and his client. I gave them a nod and I walked away. And I could not stop thinking about it for the rest of the session, and that was my Monday gym experience. So if you embarrassed yourself at the gym in any way, shape or form this week, I would love to know about it. Partly because it makes for great podcast content, but if I'm honest, I'm still trying to recover my ego. So if anyone can, I don't know, make me feel like I'm not the only idiot in the gym, that would be sweet. I would very much appreciate you. So yeah, that's my Monday. Luckily, it's not the only thing we're going to talk about in this little podcast. Episode 2, I thought, considering we are now at, what is the date today? The 8th of November, I thought it'd be good to talk about the run up to Christmas and how I approach that with my clients. Let me tell you a little bit about my approach to the winter season. Firstly, on a personal level, what I will be doing is, right now, I am in a mini cut. So a mini cut is basically a really small period of weight loss, and it's designed to do 2 things. The first is, if you have been in a surplus, if you've been actively trying to put on weight in order to help you put on muscle, which I have been, I've been doing that since the end of summer. If you've been doing that, then chances are you're going to put on some fat at the same time. So I've entered into a mini cut to help me clear out some of that fat. I won't lose too much muscle whilst I lose this fat. And it means that I can then head into even more of a surplus after this mini cut, but it will stop me from putting on too much body fat across the whole phase of my surplus. So if I just went from a surplus from start to finish, I'm going to put on quite a lot of body fat. If I put a little mini cut in the middle, I'm going to put on some body fat, do the mini cut, clear that body fat out, and then carry on again after. So it means it gives me the best chance of putting on as much muscle as possible whilst limiting the fat that I will inevitably put on if I'm in a calorie surplus. So that's what I'm doing personally. I'm just finishing my mini cut. I'm going to head back into a surplus over Christmas. If you are relatively lean, I would always encourage you to aim for maintenance and above at around, so maintenance means to not put on any significant weight, to stay in, I normally give my clients a maintenance cap. So if you weighed 80 kilos, I might give you a lower cap of 78 kilos and a upper cap of 82 kilos, for example. And anywhere in between that is absolutely fine. If we go up above that, we might drop your calories down a little bit to bring you back into those maintenance caps. If you drop below that, we might give you a few more calories to bring you back into that maintenance. But I normally tell clients to stay either at maintenance or above in that time because it's Christmas. You've got to enjoy your Christmas. It's almost impossible to lose weight in this time. Not impossible, but almost impossible, because Christmas is fun and there's loads and loads of cool social events that involve food and drink and laughter and being merry. So it's going to be very difficult for you to lose weight in that time. I wouldn't advise trying to lose weight in that time. I would, if you've got a weight specific goal, I would advise you to be in maintenance or above if it's appropriate for your goal in that time. But that's me, that's what I'm doing. Let's give you a little guide for what I think you should do. So firstly, from Monday the 18th of December to Tuesday the 26th of December, anything goes. Anything goes. Now you might be saying in your mind right now as you hear that, what, like, you're a PT, how can you call yourself a PT? How can you take yourself seriously giving that kind of advice? You're encouraging people to eat junk. You're encouraging people to drink loads. You're encouraging people to forget their goal. No, I'm not encouraging people to forget their goal. What I'm doing is what we would call the slingshot analogy, okay? So, this is how I explain it to clients. With the slingshot analogy, I would use that in a season of time where I want the person to rest from the intensity of their goal, okay? Think about, let's use an example that hopefully people will understand. Let's talk about the football season, right? Or any sports season. There is an on season and there is an off season. It's important on that on season, in the on season I should say, that you give absolutely everything to your goal. That you push and you sacrifice and you work hard and you're disciplined. In order to achieve your goal, that's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to make sacrifices to win. In the off season, it's important that you get the highest possible quality of rest and recovery from that goal. If you get to the start of the season and you feel fatigued, that is a disadvantage whilst the season is on. It's actively going to hurt your goal. You want the best quality rest possible in your off season. The dates from the 18th of December to Tuesday the 26th of December, I want you to view as your off season. As you rest and recover, don't think about the goal, have fun, enjoy your social time with your family and your friends, eat your roast potatoes, eat your pigs in blankets. Good Lord, I'm excited for pigs in blankets. Even saying that out loud gave me that little feeling that I got on my first date with my wife. Is that called sexual attraction? Maybe. What I do know is I love pigs in blankets and I'm excited to get involved with them and reunite myself with them this year at Christmas. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but we move on. In your good quality rest, sorry, that was weird. In your good quality rest and recovery, you will move backwards in your goal, like a slingshot. If you're the stone and I pull back the stone, you're actively moving in the wrong direction in this phase. You're moving backwards. If we're trying to throw the stone or sling the stone as far as we possibly can, as I pull it back towards myself, the stone is moving the wrong direction. In this time, you will put on weight. You will put on weight. But the better quality rest you get in this time, it's essentially like pulling back the stone in the sling further and further and further. If you only pull back a little bit and then let go, the stone will not travel very far. If you pull back as far as you possibly can and then let go, the energy, the potential for the stone to fly is much more potent. The force that is going to be pushed behind that stone is much more potent. That's why I say to people, anything goes in that time. You want good quality rest in order to push a client in the right direction when the season is back on. And January 1st, the season is back on. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you. That is when we push. That's when we go. That's when we achieve all the things that you are wanting to achieve. Christmas time is not that time. It doesn't make sense logistically. With all your social events, with all of your hanging out and all the ways in which food and drink is in our culture, it's going to be almost impossible in that time to hit a weight loss goal specifically. Not impossible, but almost impossible. Okay, number 2, make peace with the fact that some change in behaviours may need to happen. So, I've just laid out the standard for that window of time over Christmas. Before that, if you would like to stay in maintenance, we've already made peace with the fact that we are going to put on some weight over Christmas. Before that, if you'd like to stay in maintenance, you need to accept the fact that you might have to make some sacrifices in the run up to Christmas. Having chocolate for breakfast every day is probably not going to help you in your pursuit for a maintenance phase over your Christmas period. It is very easy. There will be chocolates in the office, there'll be cake everywhere, there's going to be all sorts of treats, all sorts of generosity going on, which is a lovely thing. We're not there to demonize that. There's going to be Christmas parties, there's going to be an excuse to drink every single weekend in December. That is our culture. And one day, when you've met your goal, you may be able to indulge in every single part of that. But if you have a health and fitness goal, you may need to make peace with the fact that outside of that window that we just spoke about, there may need to be some sacrifices. Maybe on 2 of the 4 possible nights out across your Christmas period, in those weekends, maybe you designate yourself for 2 of those as the driver so that you don't drink as much as you normally would. Maybe you decide that with your Christmas meal, your Christmas work meal, you're going to go for it whilst you're there, but the 2 days before and the 2 days after, you're going to put yourself in a gentle calorie deficit in order to budget some food to really enjoy on your Christmas works do. Maybe instead of buying yourself a advent calendar without 10 tons of chocolate in it, you just get yourself a normal advent calendar and just enjoy the opening of that. Maybe you decide in the Christmas period that you're going to up your steps from a standard 7,000 a day that you do without even thinking to 10,000 a day, just to offset some of that extra food and drink that you're going to be having. Maybe that won't even stop you putting on weight, but maybe it'll limit some damage to your goal that you might do in that time. There's plenty of things that you can do, but you need to make peace with the fact that you might have to approach this season slightly differently in order to meet your goal. Cool. Number 3, the umbrella over this season is that this is the hardest time of year to lose weight. So if you have a specific weight loss goal and you are deciding to try and lose weight in this season, I would not recommend that you do that. But if you are adamant that you want to try and lose weight in this season, let's say from mid-November to December, I would encourage you to work incredibly hard now, because the closer you get to Christmas, the more difficult it's going to be. Social events. I have some people who are working with me who are incredibly disciplined in the week, and they give themselves a social event over the weekend to put on a little bit of weight, and it balances out as a decent deficit over the week. Even that is very, very, very difficult to do. You're going to have to be incredibly disciplined. Most people will not lose weight well over a 12-week period whilst doing this. They have to go overboard in the week in order to make up for it over the weekend. And to be honest, from mid-November onwards, you are likely to have some sort of social event. You might have a very quiet social life, in which case you might find it a lot easier. But still, everywhere you look, there's going to be adverts on TV, advertising food and drink. Every time you go into a supermarket, it's going to be there. Every time you sit at a bus stop, next time you walk past a bus stop, just stop where you are and just look around you and see how many adverts there are going to be around advertising food and drink. It is just the world we live in now. So, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. I'm not demonizing that. But if you've got a weight loss goal in that time, you need to understand that your results in this time are going to be limited, if at all. If you get any at all, they're going to be limited. Just make peace with that. Make peace with, okay, my progress might not be as good in this season as it was, let's say, from January to March. January to March is a much easier time to try and lose weight. Like I said, I would advise you to look at maintenance in this phase, maybe even make peace with putting on a little bit of weight in this phase and then going hard in January and pushing in that time, because the social events, the social calendar is going to be a lot easier for you. Cool. Number 4, if you have been losing weight in the run-up, 50% of the weight you put on won't be fat mass. This is so key. This is really key. As you lose weight, glycogen, which is carbohydrate stored in the muscle. So if you look at a sweet potato, it's made up of lots of different things, but mostly carbohydrate. It's a carbohydrate heavy food. The body cannot store carbohydrates as that form. It has to be converted to glycogen, and then it is stored in the muscle, right? So my body digests the carbohydrates, converts that to glycogen, and it's stored in the muscle. As you lose weight, you become more and more and more depleted of glycogen. So what this means is when you do start to eat at maintenance or in a surplus in this Christmas season, your body is going to say, oh my gosh, glycogen is coming back. I can store this. This is great. And it's stored in your muscle. That means when you step on the scales are going to go up dramatically. Even if you only eat a little bit more than you normally would. You can look to, when I take my clients, even when we're really on it with all our numbers, when I take my clients from a deficit to maintenance, they can expect to put on at least 1% of their body weight in that first week, even after the first couple of meals, really. And even though they're not in a surplus, they're likely to put on 1% of their body weight just in glycogen alone. So if I weighed 80 kilos, I would probably, by the end of the week, weigh 80.8, even though I'm not in a calorie surplus by the end of the week. I'm likely going to put on 0.8 just in glycogen stored in the muscle. So if over the Christmas period you've been losing weight, you bring your calories up a little bit so that you can enjoy some food and drink, and you put on, let's say, especially if you're going to drink quite a bit of alcohol, you'll get quite a bit of swelling from that. If you put on 2 kilos, 1 kilo of that is likely to be swelling, glycogen, salt under the skin, all that kind of thing. Salt draws water to you and you hold on to water because it dehydrates you. So a lot of that is going to show up on the scale. You need to be prepared for that. Don't be emotional about it. Look at the scale and think, okay, cool. I'm going to weigh in over the next few days and I will see if I stick to my maintenance calories or even go back into a deficit when I'm ready, the weight will come flying off initially because you'll just be losing that water weight and that glycogen will come back out. Gaining glycogen is awesome. Gaining glycogen is great for your physique. Your muscles will really fill up, particularly if you've got like a bodybuilding style goal. You will really notice a difference. You'll look a lot fuller, you'll look a lot more muscular in that time because glycogen is going to fill the muscle back up. It's going to give you that much sort of like a firmer look. In bodybuilding competitions, the day before, even the morning of the event, bodybuilders manipulate their glycogen count by adding lots of extra carbohydrates. They will pack in the carbohydrates in order to make them look as full as possible. It's that dramatic. It really does make a big difference. So don't be afraid if you fill out and you start looking crazy on the scales. It will come back down once you go back into that calorie deficit. You're definitely going to put on some fat mass in that time. That's okay. You can lose it. You can lose it. If you know how to lose weight and you've been losing weight successfully before the Christmas period, then you can do it again after the Christmas period. There's no damage that's going to be done that you can't undo later on down the line. Okay, number 5. Drink is the easiest thing to cut down on because being hungover at Christmas is rubbish. Good Lord, that is true. Not everyone has a problem with drink, but what I would say is our culture, the British culture, is terrible around drink. For a lot of people, Christmas is about just getting pissed up. If you want to, you don't have to. That might be a part of your Christmas that you absolutely love. More power to you. Go for it. But the argument I would give to you is eating a ridiculous amount of food on Christmas Day, which I will definitely be doing, will make me feel uncomfortable for the next 2, maybe even 3 hours of that day. And I might even regret it a little bit in the moment, but it's just so good that it is probably worth it. That's why I go back and do it every year. Getting so pissed on a Christmas day, it's just probably not worth it if you're really honest with yourself. Like the next day, you want to hang out with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, you want to take the kids out if you've got kids, you want to be present, you want to make traditions, and you're just feeling sick as a dog. Like, is it really worth it? Maybe it is for you. But if you have a health and fitness goal, I know which one I would rather have. I'd rather eat way more and just not go crazy on the drink, just have a bit here and there, but cut down, than I would drink a ton and just feel crap. I just feel like there's benefits to both. Drinking loads is fun, sure, but the hangover afterwards just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't feel worth it. That would be a little suggestion for you. Last one, number 6. Food will be difficult, but I love to train over Christmas. I love it. You are likely in a calorie surplus or at maintenance. So the energy, you're not depleted at all, energy-wise. You've got loads and loads and loads of energy to go and train hard. If you've got a health and fitness goal, and keep this one really short, if you've got a health and fitness goal, try to train as much as you can over Christmas. Obviously, like we said, the social calendar can be a little bit more difficult, but training over Christmas, it's great fun. The gym's really quiet. If you love your training and it's not, I mean, you should love your training. If you don't love your training, something's wrong. You need to find something that you enjoy way more. It doesn't mean you're going to feel fired up every morning to go and train. When I get up at 6 o'clock to go and train, I can't be asked. But overall, my attitude towards my training is that I love my training. And there should be no difference over Christmas. Don't quit training over Christmas. Keep working hard, especially considering you've got loads of food in you and you're going to have loads of energy to do well. Okay, Last thing I wanted to talk about, and then I'm going to leave it there. Okay, last thing I want to talk about. We've done a little section on, little helpful physical tips and tricks for training over Christmas. We've done sort of a physical thing. I always want to try and, wherever I can in this podcast, talk about the mental side of things. So recently, I've been trying out doing 10 gratitudes, writing out on my laptop 10 gratitudes in the morning. And I'm aware this is going to sound like like I'm trying to be some kind of knobhead fitness influencer. Maybe it does come across like that. But to be honest, I got this from AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. Not that I attend that, but I do think the practices of Alcoholics Anonymous is absolutely amazing. Like, if you're a coach and you are, which I obviously am, and you're looking to help people radically change their lifestyle, you would help yourself a lot by picking up things from Alcoholics Anonymous. You want to see people who have changed their lives, check out any sort of group like Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous or anything like that. Like, these guys and girls, wow, they have changed their lives. So if you're looking to change your life in any way, don't look down your noses at these people. They're amazing people, and some of the most miraculous life changes have happened in those rooms. So I look at their stuff a lot. I really enjoy it. I try and use the stuff that I think is really cool to help my clients and to help me. 10 gratitudes. It's hard to not, it's hard to put into words how beneficial I think I've found this. And I was speaking to my client Alex about it the other day. It's, to me, doing 10 gratitudes from the outside looking in can look a bit vain and just a bit weird, like you're trying to be some sort of spiritual guru. But really, what it is an exercise in wrestling mentally. There are so many times when I'm writing out my gratitudes where I don't feel grateful. And it is like it's like you're molding your mind into being as grateful as physically possible. There are some times where I'll write out a gratitude knowing full well that I feel differently about that, but I'm writing it out to wrestle that thought or that feeling into what I want it to be for myself. And that's not, I don't think you can lie to yourself in your gratitudes. It's like affirmations. Oh my gosh. It's mostly like Americans shouting in the mirror, just saying things that aren't true. I am fit, I am strong, I am da da da, I am happy. No, you're not. Don't lie. Like, you know the truth. You can't lie to yourself. But what you can do is you can be honest about the truth, but have, like, you put a spin on that situation that pushes you towards gratitude. For example, a great one is, I've been trying to implement all these new things in the business for the clients. There's so much new stuff that I'm trying to do that I'm really excited about, but it's so difficult for me. I am good with people. I love people. I'm really good with training. I know what I'm doing. I feel confident saying that into a camera. Like, I know I'm a good coach. In terms of business, I'm not naturally gifted, especially in systems, and I'm trying to build a system for my clients that works. I'm finding it so difficult. And it's been frustrating me. It's been stressing me out. It's taken up loads of time. I'm getting behind in other bits of work that I want to do. I feel the pressure to give my clients the best possible service. And it has been weighing on me, definitely. And when I wrote out my gratitude the other day about it, I didn't lie that I was struggling. I wrote out, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember exactly what I said word for word, but it would have been something along the lines of, I'm grateful that I get the opportunity to grow my service and to do something that I'm proud of, even if I'm struggling. It's like, I'm not lying to myself. I'm admitting that I'm struggling, but even if it's only 1%, I am actually grateful to be able to give my clients the best possible service I can give them. I am grateful that I have a job where I can level up the service. I'm not just like a slave to whatever the bosses decide is a good idea. I am grateful for those things. And even if I feel 98% frustrated, but 2% grateful that I even get a shot to make it better, I'm going to write that gratitude. And then do you know what's crazy? When you write that out, the next time you get into a frustration with that thing, you find yourself just remembering that 2%, and that 2% that you are grateful for just feels that little bit bigger, even if it's just enough to keep you going in the situation. Even I'll use an example that might be a little bit more relatable to people. In my relationship with Amy, do you know how hard it is to write down like 3 gratitudes about your partner and then have an argument with them about something stupid and just keep it going and going and going and going? It becomes more and more difficult to be a knob in an argument when you've written out gratitudes about that person. It's like you catch yourself and you just think, what am I doing? I am actually really grateful for this person. That doesn't mean you're not going to argue with people. Flip, like, oh my gosh. Of course you're going to argue with people. Of course you are. But maybe your attitude, even if it's like 2% difference, your attitude might be different when interacting with that person. Gratitudes are incredibly powerful, or I certainly have found them to be powerful. If you're interested in that, definitely send me a message. I'd love to talk more about that. I probably will talk a little bit more about that, and sort of, because I think I could get even better at them, and it could become a skill that really helps me in difficult situations if I have a strong posture of gratitude. What kind of knock-on effect is that going to have when I'm up against it? I'm interested to see, so I'll keep you updated on that one. That brings us to the end of the podcast. I would love for you to submit your most embarrassing gym moment of the week. I would definitely love that, because I can't be the only one, surely. And then secondly, if you give your gratitude a go, or maybe it's something that you already do, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I would love to hear if you think it's a waste of time. If you think it's a waste of time, I want to know why. If you think it's a cool thing to do, I want to know why as well. Let me know. As always, we want more segments on this podcast. Not as always, for the second time. We want more segments on this podcast. I'm still definitely establishing a sort of a framework for this thing. I'm going to get some guests on, which I'm really excited to do. If you know of anybody that would be really interested in coming on the podcast and has a cool story to tell, maybe you are that person, then let me know, because I'd love to chat with you. Have a great week. I'll probably release these, I would imagine, every 2 weeks, but I'm just going to see how long it takes me to actually get good at editing this stuff first. So I'll hold off on giving a proper date, but I will see you guys very soon. Have a great rest of your weeks, and see you in the next.